guys, welcome again to my channel. My name is Adeyinka Otumba. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to my channel, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to my channel.
Adeyinka Otumba.
Today is going to be a life update. Where have I been? What's been happening? Why have I been away from YouTube? And all of that stuff. So I haven't posted on YouTube in the last 1 year, and so much has been happening, so many new changes in my life, and I'm going to start with the hardest one and why it's been so tough for me to make this video, because I know that I needed to make this video before I came back to YouTube. Like nothing was happening or nothing is going on, but I just couldn't bring myself to talking about it. I couldn't bring myself to opening up and making this video. But after many therapy sessions, I feel like I'm at the place where I can finally have this discussion and finally tell you guys what's been going on in my life. I know you guys have seen bits and pieces on TikTok and Instagram, but that's not the whole story. I'm finally, well, not really there, but at least I'm at the headspace where I'm able to talk about what's been happening in the last 1 year. And what's been happening, first off, the biggest thing that happened was losing my son, Shimileniola. He passed away last year, February 4th, and that's by far the hardest blow and hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. And those that follow me on Instagram know that Shimileniola was a little person, and he was born with a condition called achondroplasia. This condition we did not find out until I was 37 weeks pregnant. I had gone for my last ultrasound for them to, that ultrasound where they tell you this is what baby weighs, oh, baby's head down now, baby's this, baby's that. That was the ultrasound I had gone to. And I'd enjoyed this pregnancy. I had no problem with the pregnancy whatsoever until this very last ultrasound. So when I went to the ultrasound, I noticed that the sonographer kept looking at the screen. I saw that the whatever on our countenance had changed. So I asked her, I said, what's going on? She's like, oh, when I'm done, the doctor is going to explain to you and all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then she walks out, she grabs another sonographer. That one too came in. They are both looking and looking and looking. None of them will answer my question. So finally, I was able to see the doctor. And when I saw the doctor, and I was like, this is so hard. I don't know what to say. But what is looking like is this is a case of skeletal dysplasia. And, there's not one of them. There's like so many of them. And I'm like, what is skeletal dysplasia? Can you write that down for me? So he wrote it down for me, and I'm like, okay, so what's happening? So he said all the bones in his body, like the long bones and everything, stopped growing at 27 and 29 weeks. And I'm like, okay, how is that possible? Why didn't you guys catch this early? And it's like, well, skeletal dysplasia can be funny like that, and you don't catch it early. So he said they had to transfer me to an iris doctor, and those are the people that would now take up my case. At this point, I'm trying to remain as calm as possible. So finally, we went to the iris doctor. After going to the iris doctor, the iris doctor said to me, she did her own ultrasound, and she was like, well, yeah, it's skeletal dysplasia, but from the looks of it, his chest area is small. It looks like his chest area did not develop, all of this stuff. I'm like, okay, I don't understand. So what's going to happen? So she was like, well, first off, they had to transfer me from the hospital I was going to have the child, and they were going to transfer me to Cook's Children. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So finally, I went to Cook's Children the next day, and she's like, okay, as soon as I get to 39 weeks, she would have to induce me. So I said, okay. So I went to Cook's Children the next day. And when I got there, I went with my husband, but I think he was doing COVID and then he couldn't come in, or I don't even remember what was happening, but I know he couldn't come into the room, so I had to have him on FaceTime. So when I got there, they started talking to me. There was a counselor there. Now the counselor is asking, what's our religion? Oh, do we want them to intervene? Oh, so if something happens, what's burial arrangement? What is this? What is that? At this point, I'm confused. And it just kind of felt like I'm going from expecting a baby to planning a funeral. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? I don't get it. You know, what you guys should make it make sense, but I'm trying to remain as calm as possible. I let my husband do the talking and everything. So after that was done, we left the hospital to come back on the 39th week of my pregnancy. So I finally came in. The baby was born. He weighed about 6 pounds and 4 ounces, thereabout. And as they brought him out of me, I pushed him out like 2 pushes and he was out, no stress. And I kept asking, is he breathing? Is he breathing? Is he breathing? And, you know, because she had said, you know, he may not survive outside of my womb, and he may survive a few hours, he may survive a few days, it all depends. So as soon as he was out, I was afraid. So they brought him out, they put him on my belly and all of that stuff, and I did skin to skin with him. They took him back and then they went to examine him and take him to the ICU. Then I also tried to pump. You know, after that had happened, I was just in the hospital. I was numb. I wasn't sure what to think. I wasn't sure how to process. My mind was in a limbo because now I'm thinking, okay, is he going to pass away? Should I bond with him? If I bond with him and then he passes away, how am I going to be able to, you know, how am I going to be able to come out of it? You know, I'm just thinking about different things. And after that, you know, they discharged me 2 days after, and then he was still at the hospital for 2 more days or 3 more days. So my husband and I will go back to the hospital to go feed him and come back home, go back there, then call the hospital, ask about progress and all of that stuff. You know, he didn't have any issue except that they felt like they wanted to make sure that his breathing was regulated, and they wanted to run some tests to see what kind of skeletal dysplasia he had, which was when they now said, okay, he had achondroplasia. So at this point, I didn't even know that dwarfism had different names. I didn't even know like the difference between those that had achondroplasia and all those things. So I started to Google, I started to try to research all those things. So we finally come home with him, but I was afraid. I was like, okay, how do I treat him? Do I treat him? You know, like, what should I do? What if something happens? What if, you know, but, you know, I'm trying to pray. I'm trying to remain strong and believe that nothing was going to happen. And I was trying to adjust to my new reality. You know, I was thinking so many things. I was like, okay, is he going to get bullied in school? Are people going to make fun of him? What's going to happen? Okay, how do I raise him to be confident, to be this, to be that? I'm trying to process all those things, you know. And after that, I was like, okay, if anybody comes at him, if they're ignorant, I'll try to educate them. If they're being mean, I'm just going to fight and all of that stuff. You know, I was just like trying to arm myself with different things. So I got a therapist at the time. I was talking to that therapist, you know, but I didn't really like her job. So I changed my therapist to a Nigerian lady who is absolutely amazing. And that's the one that I like and that I use now. So, yeah, you guys, if you don't have a therapist and you feel like you need one, please go get a therapist. You need it, you know. So after, you know, doing all my therapy and doing all this stuff, Shemanela was home. Then when it got to about 7 months, he fell sick in October and we had gone to the hospital. So when we got to the hospital, they diagnosed him of RSV. So after diagnosing him of RSV, because I mean, we barely went out, we barely did anything. So I wasn't sure if Ramsey was the one that brought, um, you know, he goes to daycare, so they bring germs and all that stuff. But his Ramsey's immunity obviously is stronger than Shemin and Ella's own. So when they diagnosed him of RSV, they told me to drive him to Cook's Children. So we went to Cook's Children, and when we got to Cook's Children, he got admitted at the hospital for the first time. We spent 1 week on that admission. He was on oxygen and all sort of stuff, and they discharged him. After that, I passed. We came home, but it just kind of felt like everything went downhill from when he had RSV. So when he had RSV, he after the whole RSV stuff, his nose would not dry up. He won't stop throwing up. You know, he will have like occasional fever, like temperature here and there, and all of that stuff. So I took him back to the hospital. The doctor would say, "Oh, you know, it's because he's a little person. That's why his breathing looks like he's fast and all of that stuff." And then the next time I took him again, they did an oxygen test for him, and they saw that his oxygen level was about 60. Now the doctor was like, at this point, they had to call an ambulance to come and drive us to Cook's Children. So I left my car at the hospital. They drove us to, I got in an ambulance. I think that was my second time in my life in the back of an ambulance. So they took us to Cook's Children. When we got to Cook's Children, you know, they are drawing his blood, they are doing all those things, and then they put us in the ICU because it was that serious. When we got to the ICU, they diagnosed him now of pneumonia and pulmonary hypertension. So at this point, we started seeing a pulmonologist, and I'm like, okay, what does this mean? Where did we get hypertension from and all of that stuff? So they said, oh, because his breathing, his lungs, all those stuff, he's struggling. You know, it was just all sort of explanations. And they started giving him different medicine, you know, medicines that you had to write, you had to sign, you had to do all these things for, and those were like very scary. And after we left the ICU, they moved us into a regular room. We were in the ICU for about 1 week, and then they moved us to a regular room. When we got to so this was now in December 22nd. So we were at the hospital from December 22nd to about January 19th. That was how long we spent at the hospital. By the way, the staffs at Cook's Children were fantastic. They were amazing. You know, I don't know this hospital, you know, they were absolutely amazing. So after all that stuff, they discharged him on the 19th because I was like praying that God, I beg, don't let him spend Christmas, New Year, and then spend his first birthday at the hospital. So by January 19th, they discharged him, and his birthday was in 2 days because his birthday was January 21st. So when we came home, they gave us an oxygen tank to come home with, and a lot of medicines, like strong medicines that I had to wear gloves to administer those medicines to him. And I was so afraid of those medications, like, okay, what's going on? Like, this tiny body, and you guys want me to wear gloves to give him these medications and everything. So I had to wear gloves, I had to wear mask to be able to give him some of those medications, or all of them anyways. So, and then with the oxygen, you know, he's sleeping, he removes it when he's sleeping, the machine is beeping. I will run from my room in the middle of the night or any time of the day to come and fix it, to make sure that his oxygen level was not dropping and all of that stuff, you know. And that was it. Now, on the day that the whole thing, and the day that my whole life changed, was when it was after his birthday. We had celebrated his birthday, just 3 of us. My friend had bought him a Superman cake because she didn't let me pay for it and all of that. And so we had a function, so his babysitter was in the house with him and his brother. And after that, we stepped out of the house. We were like 20 minutes away from the house when I checked him on the camera. I saw that the babysitter was playing some music, like a piano sound on YouTube, and she was rocking him in the high chair, you know. And I told my husband that, okay, my friends and I wanted to go and get some games so that we can play at the party. So as I got into the car, like 1 or 2 minutes into the drive, my husband calls and was like, babe, do you see the camera? I'm like, what's happening? He said, oh, there's ambulance at the house. I'm like, ambulance? What are they doing at the house? I'm like, maybe because I went to submit something at their office 2 days ago for Shemileniala to let them know that there's medical equipment in the house, so that if there's any power outage, they can prioritize our house. So he's like, no, I don't think that's what it is. They're giving him CPR in the living room right now. I'm like, what? So I hung up. I called the babysitter, and then she's like crying and breathing through the roof. What's happening? She was like, well, he was crying. He was really crying that she thought he was hungry. So she got up to go get him some food to make him milk, but he won't stop crying. So she came back to pick him up to see maybe he needed a change of diaper. And as she was trying to see if she should change his diaper, he stopped crying and he stopped breathing. And she called me once. I didn't pick up, so she called 911. So between the time she called me and the ambulance got here 4 minutes after she called them. And when they got here, they started giving him CPR. She's also CPR certified, so she was already giving CPR before they came. So I spoke to the ambulance people and I told them that they should take him to Cook's Children. They took him to Cook's Children, and at this point I'm driving and my phone was on speaker. So my friends are like, okay, can I pull over so they can drive? I'm like, no, this is the only thing I have control over, and I'm going to drive this car. So I drove the car and went to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, the ambulance wasn't there yet, so I was waiting. Finally, they were there, then they came to pull me into the room he was in. I saw them, you know, just giving CPR to his tiny body, and, you know, he just looked lifeless, and I'm just sitting down there, and I'm just sitting down there, and I just couldn't imagine my life. You know, I was composed. I wasn't crying. I wasn't anything, but, you know, my heart was in my mouth. I'm trying to pray. I'm trying to do all those things. At this point, a doctor comes to me and is like, hey, we've been giving CPR for 27 minutes. We're going to try for 3 more minutes. If it doesn't come back, we're going to call it. I'm like, call it? Call what? You know, in my head, I'm just like thinking it was like a scene from a movie. So then 2 minutes after I was praying, I was telling God, I'm like, God, please, I'm too young. I don't want to have a dead child. I don't want to have it. God, please, let this boy just come back. You know, 2 minutes after, I see that the monitor comes up and they finally get the heartbeat. So I was happy. I was like, oh God, thank you. You know, my mind, I was feeling like, okay, yes, he's going to survive this and everything. So they took him out of there. They went to take him into x-ray and all of that stuff. After doing x-ray, they take him to the ICU. So when we got to the ICU, by this time he's already hooked onto the vent, because the vent is now doing the breathing for him. You know, he's hooked up to so many machines, so many gadgets. They're pumping him of all this medicine. So they said, okay, they had to let him be stable for a few days before they can do a brain CT to be able to make sure that there was still activity in his brain. And if there's no activity in the brain, then they had to unplug the machine. So at this point, you guys, Ramsey's on this side of the room, so I'm looking at him and I'm trying to get him to be quiet. So far he's been a good boy, so he's been quiet. So at this point, we had to wait about 3 days. Now it's cold in Texas, there's ice everywhere. So they kept pushing the day or the hour for this brain activity scan. So before they did that, now they brought these people that are called end of life care people, palliative care, this care, that care. There was just different people coming. Now those ones came and they're like, oh, do we want to have some arts done with him, this, that, and the other, just in case if there wasn't any brain activities and all of that. Everything just felt like a scene out of a movie. And they did, ads of our hands and our foods and all the. I'm going to post it. I'm going to paste that somewhere up here. And then they made all this artwork for us. And they also called us about him being an organ donor, which we told them that yes. So he was an organ donor. He donated, his kidney went to saving a 29-year-old lady, because I got a letter about that. I don't know what other organ, I don't know who his other organs went to saving, but yeah, I haven't gotten any letter on those yet. But yeah, it was an organ donor. And after that was done, they did the test, and they said, oh, there wasn't any brain activity in his brain anymore. Now it was now down to unplugging the machine. And so it was down to unplugging the machine and everything. So they unplugged the machine, and he passed away peacefully. And that was it. And we had to bury him according to Muslim rite, and the hospital was so sweet. They also covered part of his funeral costs, and his dad was there to give him his last bath, because we're Muslims. So his dad gave him his last bath. His dad also put him in the ground. And I just couldn't watch that. I didn't want that to be my last memory of him, so I didn't go to that. So yeah. So after that was done, you wanna give me a hug? Thank you.
Mama, what did the ambulance do to me?
They didn't do anything to you. Go lay down. Be quiet, okay? Let me finish my video, okay? When I'm done,
Why is your face wet?
just go lay down, okay? When I'm done, I'll tell you, okay? Consider being a good boy, okay? Be quiet.
Okay.
Alright, so after that has been done, my life just kind of felt empty. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I didn't know where to start from. I didn't know how to start, because mind you, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I create content. So by this time, I didn't even have any content I wanted to be creating. I didn't know what I wanted to even be talking about. I didn't know what I wanted to post. So for a while, I didn't post on TikTok. I didn't post on Instagram. I didn't post anything. I was just at home. Once Ramsey had gone to school, I'm just at home by myself. My days felt empty. Everything just felt empty. And 2 months after that, I got pregnant again, and I was super excited. I was even making videos of myself when I first peed on the stick and found out. And all of a sudden, I had a miscarriage again, and I was just like, okay, God, why me? I just lost a child. I got pregnant again, and now I'm having a miscarriage. Now this is my 4th miscarriage. What am I going to do now? So that happened. And so I told my husband, I said, you know what, I think I need to leave the country. I think I just need a breather. I need a vacation. So I went to the UK with Ramsey while my husband went to Hajj. So we spent 1 month in the UK, and we came back to America. So when we got back to America, I got pregnant again, and I'm currently pregnant now, and I'm about 37 weeks pregnant today. No, not 37 weeks. I'm about 37 weeks and 3 days pregnant, or 4 days right now. And we're currently expecting a baby girl. You guys heard it first. And we can't wait for her to get here in good health and everything. So that's the second life update for you guys. And I also want to say thank you to everybody that has checked up on me. Thank you for all the flowers. Thank you for all the prayers. People that I don't even know will send me voice notes. They will send me songs that I should listen to, and all those things went a long way. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you. I don't take you guys' love for granted. God bless you guys abundantly. And I hope with this we're back on YouTube for good, and there shall be no more sorrow, no more sadness. From here on now is enjoyment, and it's just peace all the way. And so that's what it is. If you guys have been with me up until this moment, you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel, and do share this video, and let me know what you guys want me to post again. If you guys want, and what kind of topics you guys want me to discuss on motherhood, on family, on grief, on, because I plan to do videos on achondroplasia and grief, and all those things, and what helped me, or how I deal with certain things, back with how I deal with things for myself. I'm going to make all those videos for you guys, but then again, leave it in the comments or DM me on Instagram at Deyinka1, and on TikTok at Deyinka1 as well. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about. So thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.